Pot Review Show. That's a brand new intro that we just got done developing and finishing up today. If you've watched our Twitter, you would have seen that I was working on that earlier today. And, it's done. It's ready. We're good. Hey, we got a full team here today. We got myself, which is SARoss for the Pot Review Show. We got Timber joining us, like we always try to get him on here with his crazy hectic schedule over there.
I can't help that. There's paperwork. Paperwork must be done. I cannot help that.
We set him off on all the paperwork for our show because I don't want to do it. Let's be honest. I got better things to do. I got kids.
Always the logistics officer, Timber.
Hey, I don't care where I'm at. I'm still doing logistics. It just depends on what kind of paperwork I'm doing. That's it.
Yep. And in that voice you just heard there, that's Teacher Kirby. She's joining us again here, which is probably good because we got someone here that's another science type person as well with his build in Star Trek Online here. Go ahead and say hi, teacher.
Howdy, folks. How's it going?
And then joining us like normal, we have our bug hunter, our official bug hunter for Star Trek Online. We got Chris over there.
What's happening?
And then joining us, again, as a revisit of things, we have Ernest.
Hey, good morning.
He is joining us. If some of you may remember him from our episode number 10 that we had a while ago. This would be back when we were still fairly new on things. I mean, we were only in that thing at that time about 10 weeks, I think it was probably at that time.
Barely.
Barely. I mean, things have changed so much from them. I mean, this is what this would be the third different intro that we've gone to since we've come into play. And this is basically how we've been running it since quite a while. But, Ernest was part of that early show. He got to see some of the different things that we did back then. And we actually helped him. I hope we helped him improve some of his build at that time. But we'll go for...
Oh, you guys did. Yeah.
So, anyways... That's some of the things that we got going on here. We got a lot of news that's come out. We're not going to go over all of the stuff because let's face it. There's about 4 blog articles. We're just going to kind of mention them, and they'll be in the notes for the show here later on. But one of the things I wanted to start off with is this massive blog from Borderkiss here. He goes on and he explains a bunch of different things here. And just gives us kind of an update of what's going on, what's some of the issues that we're seeing. This is something he put out 24 hours ago, basically, on the Powers performance updates. Timber, what's your thoughts?
It's an excellent read. It explains why we've been seeing a lot of lag with a lot of our activatables.
So those of us that run massive high-end builds that we're trying to tweak to become the top leaders, basically, on different things.
It's basically been affecting all of that because of how everything stacks and how the calculations have been going with the attribute modifiers, as he describes. It's been causing this since Delta Rising, and it's gotten progressively worse as they've implemented more powers and more abilities that stack. It's a really good read, but the simple fact that they found it and they're going to be fixing it so it doesn't have nearly the impact. It's probably going to have 1/20th the impact because it's not supposed to be doing what it is.
Yeah, they give examples of some of the stuff that they're seeing here. I mean, stuff like attack pattern alpha and
They do.
and stuff like that. I mean, we're talking. Yeah. They know some of the math that's going behind this, and the thing they're saying is behind this is the patch they did on 5.19 that we built it. With other things, so
and it's good that they actually found it. Not only that they found it, but they're actually broadcasting it to us. Like, hey, we found it, and we've been looking for this forever because people have been complaining about lag. They've been complaining about server performance, and they can't do certain runs because it's so laggy. Well, they finally found the reasoning, and he's actually gone to explain it to some very good detail, from what I'm seeing, of what has been the problem and how they're going to fix it. So this is going to be a definite quality of life improvement when they finally get all the patches and fixes live for all levels of builds, whether it's low end or high end or anywhere in between. It's going to be a huge quality of life improvement, especially when you're trying to do PvE queues. And the one power we talk about recently that everybody's saying not to use, Focused Frenzy. When this finally does go live, that ability won't lag out the server as much as it is.
Yes.
Which means that'll be a good ability to use. So there's going to be a lot of quality and life improvements for all types of builds and powers when this goes live. It is a phenomenal read, and I'm glad they found this.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, I'm one of the people that actually use it despite it because it doesn't affect me too much. Because no one else is using it.
This is true.
You would, Scott.
The extra cheese, man, extra cheese. No, I'm not Spencer. That's the extra bonus that it does. That's it. In the way I do things, I have to use everything I can. Every bit helps. So, anyways, so that's a good read. It's going to be in the show notes if you don't have the link for that. It is on Reddit. You do not have to be logged in to see it, which is one of the good things about the Reddit groups is you don't normally have to. You can search it. This is searchable stuff. And this is also on the forums, it looks like. He's got a link in the forums that he put in there. And some of the stuff in the forums you do have to be logged in for just to be able to read it, which is kind of annoying at the same time. But we got something else that we'd like to go over to that's very big news, in my opinion, that happened here with our little wolf over here. Timber, go ahead and explain what you did.
Little.
Okay, major.
I'm gonna on you when it comes to the defiant little. Okay, so this week has been hectic as hell for me, planning things out. If you've been following my channel, we've been doing a lot of interviews. We had Manu and Tereme on. We've had John Paladin, who does a lot of makeup work and design when it comes to the fan films and the conventions. Well, this week, I was able to get a one-on-one interview with Salami Inferno. That's Steve Ricosa of STO, executive producer. Got to interview him for a good 30 minutes, despite Time Warner Cable trying to kill me and my internet.
Conspiracy.
Yeah, very, very much so. Very much so. Answered a lot of questions. Some people said it's not the tough questions, but then again, he doesn't focus on everything that a lot of these questions would be about. But he did answer server performance and network performance issues when it comes to the new consoles coming out. He answered a lot of questions that originally I would have thought he might have steered clear from. So there was a lot of answers that the players are probably going to want to know when it comes to what I asked, and it was just great to talk to. We talked before the interview, we talked after the interview. He's really a great guy. He really enjoys player involvement when it comes to beta testing. And FYI, for everybody that's listening, and I said this during the interview, all the devs do have ghost accounts, in that they have an account that's Bob at Bob, and they will log in randomly into social zones, into fleet chats, PvE queues, and play PvE queues with you, and they will ask as if they are stupid when it comes to the game about your thoughts and how things work.
Yeah. So expect it to happen.
You never know if you're playing with a dev, is what they're saying, because they'll do this during company hours. So,
well, that's part of their job. That's part of the business.
Yeah, but if someone is asking for build advice, you don't know if you're answering someone who has never played the game, or if you're answering a dev at their desk. It's just FYI. But I did that interview. He did answer some good questions, and I've got more requests going in. But last night, I was able to be a part of a group interview on Tribbles and Ecstasy with Cryptic Rock. Now, he is a systems developer. He's the one that deals with the powers and game mechanics, things of those natures. So I was able to ask the tough questions, as it were, about their thoughts on Beam Fire at Will being the current DPS meta, about plasma explosions and their critical hits, if they're going to come back and how will they come back, or the fact that Feedback Pulse currently is a huge meta for the high-end builds and what it's doing. It's definitely going to be a great watch and read when it comes out next week.
Yep, it's not out yet, so...
It's not out yet, but he answers a lot of good questions from the community, and the questions I put together, which those were the main three, because I liked asking those. Those are tough questions, right? He gave great answers. I honestly heard him click a pen and take notes. So, there may be some changes that he works on officially.
Yep.
But another great interview with him that lasted, I believe, about an hour and a half on the broadcast alone. He really did go in depth on what he could answer. So you definitely want to check out Triples and Ecstasies podcast when it comes out next week.
Yep.
But it has been a great interview. We even heard of Maria Rosa going to the show. She went over there and got interviewed on the show. Great interview, great interactions, more questions from the community, that kind of thing. So for the devs in general, it has been a very open book week for them.
It has been.
It really has. It has been incredible. And we've got more coming down. I personally get to talk to Maria next week on my channel. We're just working out the physical time. But they are really working on making for sure that they talk to the community. They're answering questions to the best of their ability. They're really working on their PR and trying to make for sure that they can either answer questions or reassure the player base, hey, we're working on stuff, and when Agency Yesterday comes out, we're trying to do as much as we can to make it a smooth transition. So you really got to applaud them. They're really putting themselves out there because they could just shut down.
They have to. Yeah. I mean, they have to, especially right now with the Agents of Yesterday. They really want to make this a big push for it.
It's not just Agency Yesterday. We're theorizing, and rumors are that when Agency Yesterday goes live, we're also going to see the console release go live at the same time. So we could be looking at, a mass influx of people playing the old content we're already used to, plus Agency Yesterday.
Yes, it's true.
All at the same time. There's going to be a lot of server performance questions, network performance questions, which I asked Mr. Rakosa, and he explained to some detail about that. But, there's going to be a lot more player interaction because a lot more players are going to be asking questions. And the fact that they're already opening up now to the experienced players is going to be that much better when a new player comes in. They can reference, the devs really will answer questions and provide feedback, and they'll do what they can to fix the game. Hey, I do want to play this game.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of reassurance for the playing community of what they've been doing over the past few weeks. And I'm hoping it continues. I really do, because it's not just good that they're answering questions from us. The simple fact that we can talk to them on social media randomly, not just about the game, but just like, hey, how's things going? Well, we can't tell you, but it's going great. Just interactions from person to person and not just player developer has been a great thing to see over the past few months. It's nice to talk to them where you're just talking to them about real life. You can talk to them as if they're a friend you haven't seen in 2 years. And then they might be like, yeah, I got to work on, what y'all were talking about as a bug in one of your videos. So we're getting a patch out for that. Oh, cool. So they're really working on trying to make it where it's not just player developer. They're trying to work on a personal relationship with the players for extra reassurance, and it's a beautiful thing.
Yep. And it's one of the things they kind of have to do to be involved with the community, because they're starting to show up more that they want to be part of what we're doing and more aspects in one. So it's great to see this activity, this kind of thing coming from Cryptic and them on this. One thing I do want to point out on this in particular is with Timber talking about people questioning why he didn't ask the hard questions to Steve Acosta. Let's be honest here, folks. And Timber, he's a newer streamer, newer podcast. So he doesn't have all these relations built up. He's not like Triples and SC. He's not like Priority One, where they got this relationship and foundation built. So he has to kind of take it easy before he can start asking these tough questions to some of these people, because he wants them to come back.
And to be quite fair, some of the questions that I asked, most of them you have to have pre-approved. That's what they want to pre-approve the questions.
Yes.
Very rarely are they going to agree to stuff on the spot. The questions I asked Cryptic Rock were not pre-approved. They got added 20 minutes before he joined in. The fact that he answered them was amazing. Server performance and network performance question, when it comes to the consoles, I added that question to Mr. Rakosa's interview the day of, 15 minutes before we started. And he answered, and he did put a very good answer forward. But that's the other part is, there's going to be questions. You can ask him whatever you want. You can ask him for the math behind what's working. They don't have to answer. The fact that all of my questions over the past 2 days have been answered, that's what I call a tough question. When you're asking something the players want, like plasma explosion criticals or server network performance issues, and they answer it, that's a tough question because you're putting them on the spot. And just for the plasma explosion question, I heard Cryptic Rock go, "Oh boy," because he knows that's a touchy subject in the community. He answered it anyway.
Yes.
So there are going to be touchy questions, but you first have to build up that rapport with them. They have to know that you're not going to blindside them with anger or anything else. They got to know they can come to you and not talk to you just as a developer, but have a friendly conversation. You can still ask tough questions and be serious and critical of stuff, but they want to know you're not just going to attack them. And I think that's why in years past, when it comes to all broadcasters, every one of us, they wouldn't even answer us in any regard because they didn't know, us from anybody else, but they looked at the forums. They always looked at the forums, and the forums are terrible a lot of times.
Yes.
Let's admit it. Forums are terrible. So they looked at the forums as a general guide for every player, and that's why they didn't do any interviews. And then they only did Priority 1 because that was their safe zone. That's the way I'll put it. If you're listening, Mr. Arcosa, that's my opinion. But that's what it looked like at first, is they knew they could go there, they could answer questions, but they knew who they were talking to.
Yep.
They knew the people.
And
that's where
and that's one of the things
now.
that's changing these days is you can actually start getting them.
Yeah, you can actually talk to them now because they're seeing more and more of these personalities coming out that they're going, okay, let's give them a chance. Let's see what they've got to ask.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I think part of it too is they've caught some flack. They have caught some flack from various podcasters and things for only going on, Priority 1.
Oh,
because
absolutely.
initially that's how it was. They only went on Priority 1 and that was it. And so they did catch some flack for that. So they started opening up and they started, creating a process for, well, how do you get a dev interview?
Yeah.
So, and the newest way that they've done it has actually really been helpful because originally it used to go, my way to do the dev interviews was I had to go through Trendy. And then she'd be the middleman talking to the studio, and then if she got approval for date, time, questions, she'd let us know. But you had to go through a middleman process, and now they're doing it where, you've got a more direct access when it comes to who you're asking for and who's going to be answering whether they can do it or not. So they've streamlined the process, matter of fact. And like I said, it's just overall, the developer involvement in the community has soared. And I mean, I can speak for like podcasts like The Show or for Pilot Review or something like that. A year ago, they wouldn't even talk to us on social media.
They're too small that it didn't even matter.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we were too small. We were unknown. They didn't know what we were going to do. And now here we are. The Show's gotten a dev on. I'm pretty sure they're going to get another one on there at some point, and
we're next.
That's gonna be great because they can probably get a systems dev on there and ask system, game interaction questions and more of the like. Odin can finally ask about torpedoes. That'd be great for him to understand where they're coming from on the math without him having to do it just himself and get a headache. It's just promising that overall everybody's getting a chance to do it. Everybody's getting that opportunity for involvement with the devs. And it's becoming positive on all sides. It really is.
It is, yeah. It's one of those things that's kind of nice to see how it's going in the direction that it is, because there's so much that's going on. And like I said, we will be next. I think the first goal is getting one of the ship designers like Thomas the Cat on here, or if we can get the newest member who's helping out with creating the ships too. I'd like to get some of them on here because of Pilot Review. This is the show for that. So that's going to be some of the goals that we're going to be working on later on, is getting some of these guys on here as well so that we can pull their ears and see what they think on certain topics and subjects.
I vote Thomas the Cat.
Yeah. Because I think...
gotta know how he makes those ships.
I like to know how he makes the ships. I like to know what went through his mind. And in some cases, I'd like to know what he's thinking of some of the old ships that he didn't have a part of.
Yeah.
It's questions to come. Answers to come.
I know our buddy Christopher Hoskins here, he would love to know the design inspiration behind that Tier 6 Daedalus.
Indeed.
So, this is something that's going to come. We will be doing this. This one of those things that we got to get the paperwork going on that to make that happen and whatnot. So.
Yeah. Working on it.
So, we got Neo Seraphim who's asking a question here. I'm just going to go to it real quick here on Twitch. He read about them increasing the graphics. Is that going to be a PC also? Do we have an effective date? To our knowledge, that is for the console. When it goes live on the console, that's when that's going to happen. They have not cleared whether that's going to happen in the PC. But if you change some settings on your computer, you can make those similar changes. The pictures that they have of the before, that's typically when your computer has default settings for the game. But if you modify some of the graphic settings, you can change it so that it has the slightly better and easier to see things like they have in the aftershots. So we're going to move on here. We've got an event that's going on here that's been kind of fun. My friends who are in torpedoes, they love this event because it's the crystalline entity.
Ain't that the truth?
Yes.
Yeah.
But I will say with this event, it's showing how much better the player base has gotten in general when it comes to shipbuilding, and that just goes to credit to podcasts like the show or Pilot Review or anybody else has been doing build reviews. I know we have our go-to builds and everything, but everybody that's been doing help for build advice.
Yes, this helps out everyone.
You can see the difference. When you go into a pug run, you queue up for a random run of CCA, and it takes 45 seconds or less. But you do that used to be the average speed of an organized run, 45 seconds to a minute tops.
Now it's becoming normal.
That's normal in a pug run of advanced queues.
Now there is a rare occasions that you will see the 10-minute stuff, but that's rare and few between.
But most of the time, I'm running advanced in a pug run, and I'm seeing 45 seconds to maybe a minute 30 tops. Well, that used to be the average runs, especially with lag, of an organized run, and now you're seeing that in pugs, with the organized runs being 15 to 20 seconds. So it definitely shows that the player base, as far as the build mechanics and everything, that has improved.
Yes.
That's a beautiful thing to see.
You know, the great thing about this, I mean, each time they bring this event in, I mean, this is a STF that is around year-round, so it doesn't really go away. The only thing that changes is when they do this event, they kind of beef up some of the tactics that this entity does, and then they also have some sort of giveaway. They have had an anti-proton-based torpedo. They have had a couple different sets of buffs that you could get a hold of. This year it's
console.
This year is a console.
Beautiful.
Take it you already have it there, Chris?
Well, for me, I seen some of the stuff to go with it. I'm actually considering putting it in my tank set just because that's be a nice little, for lack of a better way of putting it, a nice little kick in the pants to the enemy, and a nice little damage resistance boost at the same time.
Yeah. One of the things we want to point out, it is plus 500 damage resistance that you're getting when you activate this. How long does it activate for, Timber? I know you have it already.
Oh, I have it. See here. I think it's like 15 seconds. No, wait. See, I used it the other day on my escort build, and now I can't remember. There's just too much. Let's see. Because I've got it.
I should point out here that he has it for one aspect only, and that's because of the fact that he had a bunch of shards left over from last year.
Yeah. I really haven't played with it much, but, it's probably one of those 15 to 20 second duration consoles, but I mean, you're looking at something that's basically acting almost like a feedback pulse. It's firing a beam at the enemy, but every time you get hit, you get bonus damage to that beam.
Yep.
And then you get a damage resistance of plus 500. So if you're running a feedback pulse build, you just enhanced what you can hit with the enemy with.
Just by getting hit.
More. But the one thing that, and I don't remember seeing this as a part of the blog for the console. I don't. It might have been there. The passive for this console is energy damage resistance and anti-proton damage. So it's got a passive on there for anti-proton damage as well. So for me, I see it as part of one of my escort builds. I could use the polymorphic console, and this console. That's a good chunk of Category 1 AP damage, plus I've got let's say I'm getting the threat in this escort. I've got an activatable. I've got essentially a type of feedback pulse in the forward arc with a huge damage resistance boost. And then you pop polymorphics to shut down the enemy, do a full disable on them that explode. I'm not seeing anything wrong with that.
No.
I see a lot of nice stuff happening there, but that console by itself, it's nice. I just don't have the actual activation time.
Now, I will say this. I am surprised with all the things that they have done in the past with different events like this, like the anniversary event, the winter and summer events. I'm surprised they didn't decide to say, all right, what we've done with these two events, we're going to do again here. You cannot use shards from past years on this.
Well,
one of the
Chris
things...
Chris can correct me on this. Maybe it's because summer and winter events once a year, but typically crystalline can happen 2 to 3 times a year, and maybe that just be silly to code it that way when it's happening multiple times a year.
I think it's more because the summer and the winter events and the anniversary events give ships, and the crystalline event, the Mirror Universe event, they don't. They give a console or a weapon or or a DOF, or they give something relatively small.
The other argument could be made too is because typically with the crystal event, at least that I've observed and everything, is that you get some pretty nice stuff. I mean, you may get a weapon, a console, or a duty officer like Kirby was saying, but you could also consider maybe it's because it's typically character bound and not necessarily account bound, which could be another factor. And also, like y'all were saying, something like that, they could code to use only that event's currency, but if it's happening that often, to me personally, I think that would be kind of asinine in my personal opinion to do it that way.
Also, Scott, quit giving them ideas.
If it does give them the idea to do it with this, I can say this. It would make sense because, I mean, how many people do you know that's ready for this one, in the next one, in the next one after that?
Yeah,
on day one.
True.
I mean,
I'll be able to do the next crystalline event by grinding out this one. I'll be able to do the next one and half of the following one.
Yeah.
So it's going to build up where I can do multiple without having to really worry about doing it even once.
Yeah,
if
and that's one of the things that they don't like is that stack up that occurs. I mean, that's exactly why they did that for the summer and winter events. Is they didn't like the fact that on day one, you didn't have to do any of the event. You could just go through and do it, and you were done.
Well, for crystalline, hell, people do it anyway. It's one of the most popular queues anyway. So regardless of whether they're grinding for a crystal shard or a console or not.
Yeah, people are going to enjoy doing it anyways. It's just
they run that because it's basically the way I see it. It's a quick and easy, especially with the pugs now. It's a quick and easy 30-second to a minute run, and you're getting a decent dilithium each time. And more importantly, you get radiogenic particles. That helps make your superior beam upgrades.
Yes.
So you get a lot of
marks.
Decent marks. You get, you either fleet marks off of that or Nukara. So, there's a lot of boosts for it anyway, for why people run it all the time. So, I mean, even if it was where they had each event had a different currency, people would still run it. Even if they were buying the consoles 2 years in advance, for lack of a better term, they'd still run it. It's a quick and easy STF to do.
Yeah.
Even at the advanced level.
So, I mean, it's one of those things that it could happen anyways. I mean, I can see them doing it because of the factor that it would ruin some of that factor of that day one. They're done with it. Some people may never do it again. Many of us, though, will because of the fact that we enjoy doing it, and it's a good way to get stuff. And if you're in a fleet, it's a great way to get the marks for your fleet. Stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Or, in this case here, where it's this event in particular, it's a great way to get 50,000 dilithium, to get the 250 fleet marks, and to get the 500, or is it 500? Yeah, 500 of the other reputation marks. So it's a great way to get marks if you do that for the open package. It's also a great way to do it on a daily basis if you got to get additional things. If you've got a brand new character, for example, and you want to get a bunch of marks along the board for everything. So
plus, since it's R&D weekend, a lot more R&D.
Yep. And speaking of R&D, guess what's back? The R&D promotions come back. We'll get right into that, right into the next subject. Thanks for that little transition there, Timber. It's like you're reading my mind.
Well, it's that damn ship, you know. And thank you, Lit Critter. I'm just going to say this out loud. Thank you, Lit Critter, for making me a ship addict. They have come out with a ship that I cannot afford, and yet I have to sit there and drool while other people get it. Thank you very much, sir. and I'm one sitting here saying I have the strike ship already. Yeah. I mean,
I don't have the recon. I want the recon.
Well, I probably wouldn't use it. I mean, I'm not a heavy escort pilot. I do dabble with some escorts. I love my steam runner, but I'm a cruiser guy. But still, thanks to this addiction, I must have it, and I probably never will, because I'm not about to do the lottery on R&D boxes.
Yeah. The only time I do stuff like this is when it is coming to like getting the low bay. When I want that so I can buy some ship or something, or be ready to buy the next ship from the next lockbox that comes out. That's the only time I do stuff like this.
Yeah.
Because that's 10 that you're guaranteed every time. So, with a ship chance. So, if I get the ship, I sell the ship, buy more keys, buy whatever, and I'm done, right? So, anyways, that ship is back. I don't recommend it if you don't have the best of luck. Your best thing probably is to sell these, buy the packs, sell them on the exchange, and then buy the ship that way. That's your best way to do it. But don't do it until like close to the end of the event here, because that is when they're the cheapest. Just a little tip. So we're gonna move on here. We got a few different blogs here. I'm just gonna briefly go over them because honestly, we're not a blog show, but I want to mention and give a tag for these blogs that's out. I mean, they're great stories, they're great feeds. The first one that came out is The Demon of Whitechapel. You know, it's got a little bit of distance. Like I said, it is something that if you're into these blogs and the stories that goes behind things, this is a great way of learning some of the different stories behind the scenes that you don't normally see from the perspective of some of these other ships and captains. So,
yeah, and it had a nice tie-in to what we saw in the original series from the Jack the Ripper, or the Ripper character, Ripper entity. So
yes.
Yeah, Rorschach, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So, real quick question here. We are live, so none of this is recorded for those who are listening to this after today. Primeval Dean asked us a question. At one point in this game, do you get to beam Neelix into open space? I wish.
That's never so far, but I'm sure that if you message the devs, they can make that happen. At least, you know, in a private area where Ethan Phillips, the actor, does not know about it.
Foundry mission, maybe.
You know, maybe they might, you know, support that, but in game, probably not. They
Probably
might want
not.
the actor to come back, and the last thing an actor wants to know is that
your character got killed.
Yeah.
We killed your character, Neelix. Wait, what?
Yeah, probably not the best thing, you know.
Hey, my 2-year-old likes Neelix.
Yeah, some people do. Can't complain about some of the things. Anyways, going on. Next blog here is just a Star Trek memories here. This is just a little tidbits from some of the staff of Star Trek and some of the things that they grew up with. It's just a fun little blog. That's really what it is. There's nothing beyond that. It's some good reads. Kind of gives you a little bit insight into some of these devs over there at Cryptic. So, you know, it's worth reading to get that different perspective of how they do things. And another blog that came out with this was a very short one. This actually might be more of a mission that might be coming out from the sounds of it. Is Painful Omens. It looks like it does say Painful Omens is the next mission for the 23rd century story. Has that been released on Tribble, or is that just a little tidbit? Okay.
It is, and we can't give away spoilers, but it's awesome! You must play it!
Yes.
That's all I can say. I'm sorry. I've been bound by legal contract to not say anything.
Odo technically at this point in the game, he's with the what do they call it? That I can't.
Great Link.
Yeah, he's with the Great Link right now, so he's not even a character that's going to be in the game right now, unless they decide to bring Odo back as a ambassador of some sort to help the game out. So unfortunately, we can't use Odo to turn his hand into an anvil and smack Neelix around with that.
Yeah,
as much fun as that could be. Return to Babel. I think this is another mission. It looks like
it is.
So, I mean,
once again, heavy spoilers. Can't say a word.
Yeah, we're not saying a whole lot here. I mean, so, and yes, Odo was cool. Just as a little reference on that. Part of DS9. Go watch that. Near the end is where he goes back, which is kind of sad. And then getting on to the things, one of the big things here that's happened this week, update week, obviously. We got a good amount of notes here on what's been updated and changed. So there's a lot of things that they've done, a lot of differences that they've done. For example, we talked about earlier about Pedal to the Metal. I don't know if we did it on stream here, if this was part of our pre-show discussion that we had on this, but they changes how some of these things are looking and appearing so that they can rebuild these a little bit differently. So you won't know that they're actually going on, but they're still building up is what's happening here.
Yeah, Build to the Metal was part of the attribute modifiers that we were talking about earlier, where basically it's an all damage buff. So every time you have an all damage buff, it was stacking 16 calculations onto the server. Well, that's all well and good, but Pedal to the Metal was doing those 16 calculations for every stack. So it stacks 20 times. Yep. So that's 320 calculations it's now putting on. So the part of the reason they changed, people were asking, well, why are they changing the count tag on my Pedal to the Metal? That's a nerf. The reason they're doing that is because now they've changed the coding so that instead of applying 20 stacks, it's now applying one stack that scales up over time.
Yes. And
so
and
it's
they just
now
said
doing just 16 modifiers instead of 320.
Yes, and they did the same thing essentially to the Supremacy, where instead of doing 20 stacks, it's doing 10 stacks that are twice as effective. So, and I imagine there's going to be more.
It's going to be a huge quality of life improvement because we're going to finally not see lag in ISA once this is all implemented. Because all those buffs that are stacking. I mean, just think about, Attack Pattern Omega is an all damage boost. Attack Pattern Alpha is an all damage boost. And
there's so much of that around.
That with Pedal to the Metal and anything else that's an all damage, it's why Focused Frenzy has been so terrible in that run. Is everybody's already trying to buff up with everything they've got, and then Focused Frenzy at its maximum potential has a team cast of all damage to everyone. So you're making it, especially at the end of a lot of these runs, all the buffs happen at once. It's an exponential growth of these attribute modifiers and damage boosts. That's what's causing the lag, is it's stacking well beyond the buffer that they originally implemented, and that's what's causing all the lag. The server can't handle it. So with them doing all these fixes, it will never hit that buffer again, but we won't see any difference as far as our powers. So it's going to be a great quality of life improvement for low-end to high-end builds.
Yes,
we might actually get more out of our abilities because we're not lagging everywhere.
Yeah, and this is gonna be one of the great things. It will take time to do all the stuff that they're doing and they're planning to do. So once again, like I've said in the past, if you've heard me on some of the shows in the past, be patient still. They are working on things to make this better for everyone. I look forward to this because I can start doing what I love doing, which was trying to beat my top score. And
yeah,
that's one of the things that I want to get back to. So going on from here, we'll get into the actual meat of things here. We got Ernest over here, who has been here and made a couple comments here. Thank you very much for making those comments. But you were here and asked to come back on here as a return guest for pilot review, kind of so people can get an idea of what's happened in the time since. When we first had you on here, you were doing 47.5K with a Pathfinder exotic and torpedo build.
Yeah, I think that was a year ago now.
Yeah, thereabouts.
We did the show earlier than the date posted in that video. I think that video was a repost.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
one of those things I probably did repost on a lot of stuff to add the intro in there and whatnot.
yeah, we did that around the same time this year, last year, mid-May. So a lot has gone into that build since.
Yeah, so what's some of the things that's changed since that?
Well, the Terran stuff came out since then. So I'm now using the Terran Corp back aft. A lot has changed in how I fly it. Actually, after the show, from without making any changes, just changing how I flew the ship, I went up from 47 to averaging at the mid 60s just by implementing some changes in how I fly the ship.
Yeah.
Awesome.
You know, it's things like that. I mean, I to give you guys an idea, I followed Ernest. I followed everyone that's on there as close as I could, especially Ernest here because I saw him on the Reddit channels or the Reddit threads, and I've seen him in our main Facebook group. So I got to see him as this progressed and to see some of the things he's done. He's still one of the most unique builds that I see that post and stuff because he's doing different things. He's doing really unique builds when he's doing things, and it's really nice to see how he's capable of doing these because they're working.
Yeah. I mean, I think the last one I saw from him was he did 105K in his Intrepid, and I looked at that build and I was like, all right, I got to figure out how he's doing this because it's one of those builds you're looking at it going, do what? And then you watch it and you're like, oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. Okay, I got you. And then you're looking at his piloting and he's going, all right, he's positioning here, and then he's firing this, and then he's activating. Okay, and he's one of those enigmas that we have, and we have a few of them in the community where he's throwing together something you wouldn't think works, and then when he pulls it off, it's just beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful.
Yep, and that's one of the great things about what's happening. I mean. I say since the skill revamp here, especially, we're starting to see the ability to do these more unique builds than ever before.
Oh yes, absolutely.
You know, and that's one of the great things about it.
And it's really fun just building slightly off the meta, because then you get to explore stuff that other people aren't really actively exploring and finding stuff that works. And when you find the stuff that works, it just adds to the fun to it.
Yep. And look at that wall of yellow. You know, to give you an idea, Ernest, I don't know if you're watching. I think you are, if I'm not mistaken, but I'm watching this live, so kind of playing this over so you guys can see some of the things that's going on. I mean, this is totally revisit of this episode that's gone on, but so. What are you averaging now? What are you doing now? What's your top run?
My top run in ISA with the Intrepid is 105K, but that's with heavy rubber banding. I was watching the parser, and I think it peaked up at about 125 before I started bouncing back.
Yeah,
so
that's one of the things that happens.
I'm actually looking forward to those changes Porticus was saying.
Okay, and then so maybe you might be able to get up to 125, 130, maybe even 140. I'd say if you had a good run.
Maybe 130, but 140, I'm not sure yet. I'm not confident yet to say I could reach that high.
Suffice to say, Ernest, you're gonna be able to refine this to the point where you look at an enemy and they die. That's what we're looking at from you.
That's your next goal.
Yeah. Like, oh, you're dead. oh, you're dead. Like,
So-
that's...
Here's a question I have to ask here now. We've changed tactics from back when we used to do the ISA runs. We used to do them like the left to right. Have you switched to doing right to left?
Yeah, I've done a couple of right to left runs before. Namely with teacher Kirby. Whenever she organizes those runs, she wants it right to left.
I usually do right to left, yeah.
Yeah. So
That might be something that
I've
might
run a
help you
couple
out
of
too,
right
by
to
the way.
left stuff. What? Sorry?
That'll probably be something to help you out as well. That because it's actually we've noticed them to be a little bit faster because of the distance factor in the right to left.
Yeah. The main thing that's holding me back right now is lag. It's just what's preventing me from going up higher, I think, at this point.
It's because you got all these science skills and they're just doing all this wall of yellow.
Yeah,
That's what I'm going to say it is.
graphical location isn't the best place to play SPO. On a good day, I get 280 milliseconds ping. That's as good as it gets. So
I
if you factor
laugh,
in
and I'm
travel
not
time
laughing at you.
and torps, since torps take time
Yeah.
to hit their targets.
Yeah, you have to get close to
sometimes-
make it go faster.
Yeah, sometimes the
Yeah, you do.
my targets get blown up before I even land my torps. So that's one of the things that I really changed since doing this episode with you guys. I've begun to fly really more aggressively.
Yeah, you have to as a
biding my
torpedo
time.
user.
Yeah, and unlike fall, with fall you could just keep up fall running. Yes. But with torps you have to really time that torp spread because you only get one torp spread every 15 seconds or so, and trying to pick the right moment when to fire those and which torp to fire is just something that I learned over time.
Yep, and that's one of the things. I mean, as we learn these things more and more, and we get better at our timing of things, we learn what happens, and then sometimes it even helps to have a group that we run with on a regular, typical basis because then we say, "All right, this is the go. Make Ernest do 180K. Let's make him number one now."
That'll be difficult.
I think it's going to get down to a point where we'll actually be able to see science and engineer officers on the top 10 of the DPS list, if they're not already. I haven't been watching it closely because reasons, but I got a feeling there's going to become a point that will be a real possibility in the DPS, is there won't be tactical officers ruling the board. So...
I haven't checked the boards.
No.
For a couple of weeks now, I think.
Yeah, it's been a little while since
The
I've checked it
last I
myself.
checked was after the wipe.
But, so that's one of the things that's going to get interesting, because I think they wanted to make it so that it is more of a universal thing, that anyone can do things if you got your right skills up. I mean, we're seeing some more skills that's coming out that's very impressive for science, and they're not making them as impressive for a tactical officer, but at the same time they're making skills that is trying to beat the fob meta and make it very interesting. I mean, I run an interesting build as it is using reroute reserves, so there's potential, and it's coming, it's growing, it's going to take time.
And there are other builds getting more popular as well. You've got the tank builds.
Yep.
Cannon builds with a single N are getting more popular as well because of the changes to the skill and the power creep, more or less. They can now hit upwards of 80k and even 100k with mixed torp and beam build. And we've got stuff like what Spencer is doing with his cannons, that 200 plus K scimitar run.
Yep. So you got many things that's going on that's making things a little more interesting, a little more variety in things, and that's one of the great things that's happening these days. Kudos to Cryptic for making it possible. Some people kind of worried about the change in the skill system. I think the skill system change was indeed needed. on multiple levels, because it does make this capable of being a real possibility anymore. So, but thank you, Ernest,
some
for
people don't like the skill changes because of what the top 50 players can do in the game right now.
yes,
But I think it's better to look at it on what the skill revamp is doing for the mid tier, um, the low end of the mid tier players. And since I pug a lot, like 80% of my runs during the day are through pugs, I'm seeing a improvement um, across the board. In ISA, where it used to be you'd get like 3 or even 4 people below 10k, that you'd get maybe 1 or 2 below 10k right now, and the rest are doing above 10k. So more and more people are able to do advanced, and that's a good thing.
yeah, and this is one of those things that's happening. It's becoming a lot more even of a playing field, which is what's been needed for a long time. So, anyways, I do want to say thank you, Ernest, for joining us for that 10th episode and joining us now. Even, I mean, this is, if we had done this last week, you would have been on just 20 episodes later. So,
Yeah, well, it was fun. I learned a lot. I still learn a lot by watching that episode. I still rewatch it. I compare how I flew back then and how I fly now, and note what I'm doing differently now, and seeing which stuff I'm doing works and which stuff I'm doing doesn't work.
yeah, and that's how it happens. One of the things that I do, I like to try and take videos of any run that I do, and I do my own review of those things and say, okay, maybe when I use this skill, it wasn't the best time to have used that skill. And so you find things like that. You always will notice little nuances that are saying, okay, they would have been weak to this particular skill at this very moment, but instead of doing that, I did something else. And that's one of the things that it takes looking at it, and actually thinking about it. Okay, maybe it wouldn't have done, and in some cases, maybe it takes someone else looking at things for you and saying, you should have done this instead. So,
Yeah, yeah.
but
Well,
anyways,
that's the thing about improving yourself in game is that you should never look at yourself as being this really awesome player, but always watch out for stuff what other people might be able to teach you.
yep,
Even people who are not as high in terms of DPS as you are, sometimes they might give suggestions that would actually really work well for you. In several of my Reddit threads, build threads, I get a lot of comments and suggestions with my builds, and I read them all and I weigh them down. And sometimes some of the suggestions, the wild suggestions that they give out there, actually work really well. And if you close your mind off and think that, oh, this is not going to work outright, then you might not be able to catch on stuff that um, is off the beaten path, but actually would work.
yeah, there you go. You know, for anyone out there that's looking to have
Mm-hmm.
the builds improved, if Pilot Review is here for that, we have a different way of doing things anymore. We're not focused on doing that only. We're trying to talk more about the game nowadays. But if you do have a build that you like to have looked at, you have a video you want to get recorded, you go to our website, prs.geminips.tv, and submit in your builds, your videos, and we'll take a look at. We'll pull you on the show for the next episode, and we'll pull you in there. We'll get you on that aspect of things. And we'll still help you out. I mean, that's still our focus, is to help people out. I mean, that's really what it should be about. That's what that's the reason I formed it, to help people like Ernest here. I mean, you saw a video of him where he was doing 47. Now he's doing potential of capable of doing 125 if he didn't have any lag from his skills that he's doing. So, that's the way things go, and that's why we're around. That's why I formed it, and we're going to keep going. We're trying to we change the show around to what it is now to make that happen, so that we can still keep a reason to be around, and to get out there and talk to people. So
yeah, I've always told other people that joining the pilot review show back then was one of the best things I've done in the game.
Yep. We've helped out so many different people. I mean, we've even helped out Val, who's one of the best tanks in the game. Or he's an engineer, and he's been on the top of the list for a little while, and he wanted to get back onto it when he came on. So we've helped him out with there as well. But we'll help out anyone. It doesn't matter if you're the top number one. You want to stay at number one. You want to figure out something that you might be missing. And maybe there is something you're missing. You may not be aware of some things that no. I mean, each one of us in this room, we have different skills, different knowledge of different things, so we can make things work differently.
But hashtag Odyssey for life.
Yes.
Hashtag T6 Keldon. I mean, what?
T6 Keldon tag here. That's one of the things we love doing different things. I mean, heck, I'm not even running FOD anymore, and I'm still doing pretty good on the DPS. So it's a matter of doing things differently, a matter of hitting different ways. But thank you, Ernest. Definitely appreciate you coming back on here. I know it's early over there. I mean, we had to work your schedule around just right to make it so we can get you on here again. But thank you for getting on here. We definitely appreciate you and your time and your input that you do on all the groups that we're part of. I think stuff like what you do helps out. Not a problem. Not a problem. We're going to go down to our last little bit here. What we have called and termed the Bugs Corner. This is where we turn to Chris and say, what bugs is there that we need to be aware of, if any?
Well, a couple of good things from the patch notes that folks are going to enjoy. Acetona simulators can no longer be summoned in social zones, so if you've seen people doing that, then thankfully that's supposed to have got fixed.
If it still works, get it into Chris, make him do the paperwork.
Yeah.
Get it into somebody and definitely take a look at it.
So
then, basically just some basic fixes in the patch notes. They are aware of some people where they're unable to recruit Romulan bridge officers being a thing, the Ready Starship not working exactly right. Then there's another guy saying how the overflow bag for him has returned. The
I saw that.
Grethor is back.
But if I remember right, the one of the devs that made a comment on this is that's not the overflow bug that he remembers there being in that one.
I think that may be, that may be a variation actually. Since now that you mentioned that.
So that's just one thing I remember seeing on Twitter. So, anyways, go ahead and go on.
Then there's the Gateway to Grethor, where if you kill all of the remaining stuff after the Dreadnought's dead, that the probes can go friendly and you'll fail the optionals. That one, apparently according to a guy, has come back. Then some people not able to upgrade Andorian weapons, if that's anybody's having issues with that.
Yeah, these are the fleet weapons that are the Andorian style stuff. So.
Yep. So yeah, they're probably going to be looking at that. Then for another one, some people, if they transfer out of a system, are getting white screening while they load, which can potentially lead to crashing. Then game crashing on new characters' first missions. So a few issues with that. Some stuff that'll probably get fixed here pretty quick, hopefully. Aside from that, that's some of the major ones that I've seen people talking about. Not too awful much that I'm familiar with. Nothing I can talk about too much anyway. That's I'm seeing lately. But yeah, definitely get your bug reports in if you see something. It actually helps a lot more than you think. Most of our reports in the bug hunters and that the devs read come from people just like you.
Yep.
Like everybody else in game.
So they're definitely appreciated. I mean, because of one factor. I mean, they don't just benefit yourself; they're benefiting everyone around you. So if you see these issues like that, get it in. You see, I mean, this is the reason why this group of bug hunters was formed, is to find these issues, report them in a different way that is getting special spotlight. So
Indeed.
Anyways, thank you all of you for joining us and watching us here as we go live here and make all sorts of issues and mistakes. As always, we're a live show. I don't hide anything. You don't have any reason to hide. I mean, I'm sitting here with the syringe in my hand. I don't know why.
Yeah, you do. Reasons.
Reasons! Yes.
Reasons.
But anyway, thank you, especially Ernest, for joining us again here. Definitely appreciate you coming back on. And, I love having people who used to be on the show come back on because you got different side of input besides just someone saying, well, this is a brand new show. I'm not sure if I want to trust these guys.
Thank you for having me. It's always awesome to be here.
Yep, definitely appreciate it. And make sure to tune in to next week and everyone that's listening. I appreciate it. Join us. We'll see you later.
See you guys.
All right, bye-bye.
Take it.